So we will start with our prayers. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं साद्वैतं सावधूतं सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंश कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती राधानाथ स्वामी नाम्ने नमः। ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम। हरे कृष्ण। So I think still quite a few to join, but never mind, we can get started. Hopefully they will join soon. So we are continuing our journey. Actually, we have just begun the journey on the Madhya Lila. Of course, the first two chapters were an overview of Madhya and Ante Lila, which we covered. The last session, we began the detailed discussion of the Madhya Lila, which is the part of the pastimes of the Lord, starting from the Lord's taking sannyas. And we are going to continue that discussion. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is very detailed in his description of some of these Lord's pastimes. And this is one very beautiful characteristic of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that it goes into so much detail, much more than Gita, much more than Bhagavad. Of course, Gita is more about principles. The principles are elaborated in the form of the Lord's pastimes in the Bhagavad. And the same in the sense, the Lord's pastimes are further illuminated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in terms of the nuanced dealings between the Lord and his devotees. When spiritual principles are mentioned in scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, according to our own understanding of the meaning of these terms, we try to create a mental image of what it means to be like that. Detached, compassionate, we create a mental, humble, we create an image. Based on our understanding. Of course, we try to refer to Shastra, but the Shastra is mainly philosophical in nature. But how these values actually translate into a living culture, a culture which can be put into execution in our day-to-day life. That level of detail we do not see. Definitely not in the Gita itself. Of course, Mahabharata to some extent, but not so much in the Gita. Bhagavatam, so much more. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, the maximum extent. And it is very important to have this elaboration from a value to a living culture. Because if we do not understand how to translate that value into a living culture, and how great souls who possess that value, humility, compassion, steadfastness, detachment, love for the Lord, service attitude, how are all these principles enacted in our day-to-day living? How they reflect in our day-to-day interactions? How they reflect in our external behavior? How they reflect in speech? How they reflect in mannerisms? How they reflect in the way an individual has an attitude towards people, towards situations, towards difficulties. All these insights are actually so valuable for a sadhaka. Because at the end of the day, what is spiritual life about? Spiritual life is about fine-tuning of our consciousness. Like when a car gets dented, we don't send after, like after an accident, car is dented in a major way. When if we take it to the workshop, it's not the workshop who does the work. It's not the main mechanic who does the work. They send it to a special, I don't know what they call it. I don't know the name, but there is a workshop which deals with this. I forgot the name. They say we need to knock the car. So they have a way to knock the car back into shape. They'll make the, I don't know what they do. I haven't seen it live, but I know that they knock it. They knock the tin the body of the car back into shape. So our distorted consciousness, which is twisted, damaged by the three modes of material nature, needs to be reshaped. And we need to know how to exactly shape it. Right from the Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter itself, Arjuna was so curious about this aspect. When Krishna spoke about detachment, when Krishna spoke about a person who is not at all expecting the fruits of material activities, just expecting, just wanting to perform work out of either detachment or out of love for the Lord, Arjuna becomes so curious about this principle, these values of detachment, these values of a life dedicated to service. And that curiosity of Arjuna to try to understand this better so that he can put it into his own life is expressed in the question that he asked Lord Krishna. And what is the question that he asked? He says, Krishna, you're speaking about this perfected consciousness person, Sthita Prajna. Can I understand? Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. How does he speak? Samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhasheta. Kim asita rajeta kim. How does he sit? How does he go around? Which means, how does he interact with the world? Please elaborate more. Because the value is understood, but how the value is executed, how it is implemented, how it is integrated into one's living. And Krishna does explain to some extent. But still it is very principle based. So he has no desires, he's not attracted. But ultimately in day-to-day interaction, Krishna doesn't go into that level of detail because Bhagavad Gita is a very concise work of principles. And that is why we need literatures like Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita where we can get these finer details of Vaishnava culture. And that is one of the reasons why we need to study scriptures like Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that is also one of the reasons why it is so important to be in the association of devotees, so that when we closely observe through association the behavior of devotees who are fixed in this culture, we also understand that this is the way in which this philosophy is to be lived. So that is the purpose for us ultimately. Of course, apart from the aspect of relishing the Lord's beautiful, sweet interactions and deriving transcendental pleasure in the hearing and chanting and the discussion, bodhayantascha parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam dushyanti charaman. This is also very important consideration. And why I'm mentioning this at the beginning of this class is that going forward, this chapter and also beyond, you will see so many details with respect to, oh, he sat down like this, oh, there was a banana leaf like this, there were this, then he said this, then he said that. And some people, they say, what is this? Why this unnecessary details are being mentioned? What this what this kind of joking conversation has to do with Krishna consciousness? What this kind of nothing is irrelevant. For us, in our time, in our age, Chaitanya Charitamrita is our benchmark in terms of Vaishnava culture and behavior. So do pay close attention to the points which are mentioned in these beautiful pastimes. So we are continuing the chapter 3. So we discussed how after taking sannyas, the Lord wanted to go to Vrindavan, how he was guided to the Ganga instead of being guided to the Yamuna, by Nityananda Prabhu asking the cowherd boys to collude with him to try to divert the Lord towards Shantipur. And Advaita Acharya was asked by Chandrasekhar Acharya to come towards the Ganga with a boat, and Mahaprabhu was taken to his home. Meanwhile, Chandrasekhar Acharya also went to Navadvip. He gave the news to Sachi Mata and the other devotees and said, come, everyone come, Mahaprabhu is coming to Shantipur at Advaita Acharya's house. So the whole reason, as we discussed the last time, was to allow all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have his darshan after sannyas, because if he goes to Vrindavan, they are all pining. Suddenly he has disappeared in the middle of the night. He has abandoned his widowed mother and his very young wife. Nobody knows where exactly he has gone, apart from the 3 or 4 close associates who accompanied him to Katwa to take sannyas. So the Lord, though he was externally displeased, he played along, because in heart he knows he doesn't want to give pain to his devotees. So the Lord came to the home of Advaita Acharya, and Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita Acharya, an expert cook, we discussed in the last class in great detail the detailed menu of all the items that she cooked. She was so expert. And how Advaita Acharya so elaborately made that offering in front of the deity of Krishna. Made 3 plates, a metal plate and 2 banana leaf plates, and stacked it, the huge amount of food offerings. Advaita Acharya, of course, after the offering, the arti was performed, kirtan was done. Lord Chaitanya told Mukunda and Haridas, please come and have prasad. Mukunda said, no, I have some other business. Haridas said, no, I'm too fallen. I'll take prasad later. Advaita Acharya led Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the room where the plates were laid out. We are at that point. Of course, Lord Chaitanya saw these plates and he saw the immense offering. He saw what is cooked and he's like, Sometimes, right, we go to a temple and we see such a huge feast and we are like scratching our head. How was it even possible to make a feast like this? And of course, in the kitchen, there are 20, 30 people who are, together putting in a lot of effort to cook. But this was done by one person, who was Sita Thakurani. Mahaprabhu was so impressed. Because this kind of a service is actually a very wonderful service also, and it's a very wonderful absorption. Cooking. Because one is always absorbed, oh, Krishna will like this, and it's actually a very wonderful way to remain absorbed, that seva. So Lord Chaitanya actually praised, he said, after seeing the offering, he says, whoever can make this kind of nice food offerings for Krishna's pleasure, I am declaring that I will take their lotus feet and put them on my head. Which means that the quality of seva is very important. It's not just about cooking. As I have made, come and offer this, keep it in front of the Lord, so that we can quickly have lunch. That is not the attitude. Making it with love, with a consciousness focused on pleasing the Lord. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, of course, he glorified the offerings also, and he noticed that there are 3 plates. And Lord Chaitanya's natural assumption was that all of these are offerings to the Lord. Actually, what was Advaita Acharya's plan? Of course, he offered everything to the Advaita, but Advaita Acharya's plan was 2 of these plates, which had huge amount of prasad on them, were actually meant. One was for Lord Chaitanya and one was for Nityananda Prabhu. But at an external level, Lord Chaitanya did not understand Advaita Acharya's intention. So what Lord Chaitanya said, he saw this prasad, he was very happy, and he said, okay, now we will sit here. Advaita Acharya, can you just put 2 banana leaves for me and Nityananda, and just take little rice and little bit of the vegetables from here, and some vegetable and some rice, place it here. Advaita Acharya said, no, my dear Lord, you please come. You held both of the hands of Advaita Acharya, of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and gently brought them in front of those 2 plates, which were already laid out, the 2 banana leaves, and made them sit down in front of them. And he did so gently, and they sat down and they were trying to understand, and Lord Chaitanya understood, oh, he's trying to suggest that this plate is for me. It was a huge banana leaf. Pots and pots and pots and pots of vegetables and sweets and pakodas, and we discussed that whole menu. So Mahaprabhu said, oh, Advaita Acharya, it is not proper for a sannyasi to eat all these variety of foodstuffs, that it is not even proper. How can a sannyasi control his senses if he overeats? And especially if he eats a lot of opulent food. We discussed this point the last time. Food is very intimately connected with control of the senses. He who's aspiring to control his senses must eat moderately and not very luxurious foods, not very spicy, very sattvic food, and not very, not in too much quantity. This is very important. And being a sannyasi, he was especially strict. So in one sense, Lord Chaitanya protested that I cannot, I shouldn't be sitting here. This plate is not meant for me. Then Advaita Acharya, he started telling Lord Chaitanya. He said, oh Lord, do not pretend, do not, I do not conceal your real identity. I know who you are. And I know what you are capable of eating also. So you're not just a sannyasi, that I know. And with respect to your capacity to eat, I know that your capacity is not based on this body. the external body that I am seeing. You and Lord Jagannath are not different. And as Jagannath, I know in Jagannath temple, 54 times in a day you are eating. And not small quantity. You are eating huge pots and pots of dal and rice and sabjis and sweets. So this food that I have kept, this prasad that I have kept on these plates in front of you, this is actually so insignificant and small as compared to that. In fact, the amount of food which is enough for 3 persons to eat is not even equal to one morsel for you. So, all this prasad that is kept is as good as 5 morsels for you. But don't. I know what you are capable of. So it's okay. No, you are showing your etiquette and all that is fine, but this is our private affair. I want to have the pleasure of seeing you as the Lord. Enjoy this prasad to your heart's content. I am so happy. It is such my great fortune that you have actually come to my home and you are accepting this prasad. So please don't deny me this opportunity of seva and don't deny me this pleasure of serving you like this. Please start eating. Let's not discuss this anymore. So he's trying to convince Lord Chaitanya everything is okay. So Advaita Acharya immediately after said he didn't wait for the Lord to say yes, no, anything. He immediately bought pots of water. He started washing the hands of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda so that they can wash hand and then start honoring their. So the Lord just smiled. He didn't say anything. And the Lord conceded to Advaita Acharya's request and he started honoring the. But Nityananda Prabhu, because both of them were sitting, was in a different mood. Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of this is too much to eat. Nityananda Prabhu was in a different mood. Nityananda Prabhu looked at Advaita Acharya. Said, Advaita, last 3 days, when Mahaprabhu was roaming around everywhere, finally we reached Shantipur. 3 days we have been fasting. You know that, right? 3 days I have not eaten. Today, when I reached your home, I was thinking at least today I can break my fast. But after seeing what you have put on the plate, I think today also I have to go hungry. So little food. What is this? And so, of course, there was a huge quantity of prasad. But Nityananda Prabhu is joking. He's saying, this is not even one morsel for me. Even half my belly will not get full with whatever you have served. And Advaita Acharya, knowing that Nityananda was in a playful, joking mood. Nityananda would be in this mood. Being an Avadhut, he would joke, Mahaprabhu was very sober, his dealings. Nityananda Prabhu was an Avadhut, would often be in this cowherd boy kind of mood and would crack jokes and would make fun. Advaita Acharya replied to him, oh my dear sir, you are actually a traveling mendicant. Normally whenever you are traveling here and there, most of the times you are just eating some roots and fruits and all this. And most of the times you are even fasting because you don't get any food anywhere. So as compared to that, actually I have given you a big feast. Why are you complaining? Just please accept whatever I'm giving. I'm just a poor Brahmana. Don't be greedy. Please be satisfied with whatever I have given. And Lord Nityananda protested, no. What do you mean? Whoever I may be, but see, I have come as a guest to your house. So it is your duty to satisfy me. You cannot say it little. That is the culture, isn't it? Once there is a guest at the home, then the duty of the host towards the guest in terms of feeding is, even if he eats more than what we thought he will eat, he can eat less, but we have to serve the guest. I mean, that's our culture. So in this way, there was a joking words between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. And Advaita Acharya started poking more fun at Lord Nityananda. And of course, these are all exchanges of love. They seem like criticism. See, sometimes even between two close friends, lovingly, there is some, as we say, pulling the leg, poking some fun. But actually, it is just an expression of love. Sometimes, just like between Krishna and the gopis, also, it appears as if they are arguing, but actually, it is an exchange of love. So these kind of exchanges should be seen in that regard. And then Advaita Acharya, when Nityananda Prabhu said, it is your duty to feed me, Advaita Acharya externally, he got irritated and he said, you are a reject Paramhamsa. You have just taken the renounced order of Duta just to fill your belly. And you are just come here to trouble Brahmana like me. You are actually capable of eating as much food as 10 to 20 manas of rice. I am a poor Brahmana. From where I'm going to get so much food? Why don't you just be happy with whatever I've offered to you? So you please, he went to the extent of saying, you please eat and get up. Whatever I've given, you quietly eat. Don't show your madness here. And eat nicely. Don't strew the food here and there. See, Nityananda Prabhu would go into ecstasies where, he would go into these intense moods of love. Don't scatter the food here. And in that ecstasy, sometimes the remnants of his food you would get scattered here and there. So in this way, this very loving exchange happened. And of course, Lord Chaitanya was enjoying this joking exchange between Advaita and Nityananda. Meanwhile, Mahaprabhu was eating. And it is said Mahaprabhu was eating from every pot. He was tasting the vegetables, and as he was tasting the love of Sita Thakurani's devotion with which she had made all these offerings, and he was appreciating. He would finish half of one pot. Actually, Advaita Acharya told him, I have put all this, but you don't have to eat everything that I have. Whatever you want to eat, you eat. The rest you leave on the plate. And actually, earlier Lord Chaitanya had protested. He said, no, it is not the business of a sannyasi to leave remnants. Sometimes we do like this to our spiritual masters also, right? Because we want Mahaprasad of the spiritual master. We'll serve a huge plate to the spiritual master. And what is the trick? The trick is we know the spiritual master cannot eat all of that. Whatever is left over, we say, no problem, Maharaj. We take the remaining plate and we will get the remnants of the Mahaprasad or will distribute it to the devotees. So that was Advaita's plan, get Mahaprasad. So, but Lord Chaitanya had initially protested. He had said, no, it is not the duty of the remnant. So he established that standard that, no, it is not a sannyasi should not do like this. And that's what Mahaprabhu says. But of course, after all these exchanges, Lord Chaitanya decided that he wanted to please Advaita Acharya. So he was eating half of the preparation. And after eating half, he would keep that pot aside. He would pick up another pot and then start eating half of that, put it aside. And Advaita Acharya, who was there, who was serving Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, he was so expert at serving that as soon as Lord Chaitanya would eat half the sabji and keep the pot aside and pick up another, he would immediately fill the previous pot back up to full. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I cannot eat so much. I have already eaten half. You are again topping it up. So he was expert in the art of service. So we can see, what is the culture of serving. So when we serve a guest, we should be eager to give them more and more and more. And Advaita Acharya was saying, no, no, Lord, you can eat, please eat, please eat. Huh? This is not so much. So the Lord was going on and on and on. Meanwhile, again, Nityananda Prabhu, he told Advaita, oh, my stomach is not yet full. You are feeding Lord Chaitanya, that is very nice, but what about my stomach? Huh? It is not getting full. This is not enough quantity. You take all your food away. I don't want this. I don't, this is no good for me. Huh? Saying in such a way that this is so little that is not going to satisfy my hunger. So as Lord Nityananda said like this, saying that I don't want, take it away, Lord Nityananda had a little bit of rice in his hand. That rice he took in his hand and he said, I don't want, and he threw those few grains of rice on the floor. And these are the remnants of Lord Nityananda, Lord Nityananda's Maha. And when he threw them on the floor, some of the grains, because Advaita was just standing nearby, some of the grains of this rice went and touched and fell on the feet of Advaita Acharya, and stuck to his feet. And as soon as Advaita Acharya was touched by the Maha of Lord Nityananda, he went into ecstasy. Advaita Acharya instantly started jumping and dancing there with those grains of rice sticking on his feet. And he became ecstatic because just like if you remember how Lord Shiva, when he ate a little bit of Lord Hari's Mahaprasad, half a grain, he became excited. He was dancing. Then Narad Muni ate a little bit. He started dancing. And Lakshmi Devi became upset. I didn't get anything. What happened? That whole beautiful pastime, right? So Advaita Acharya, this is Nityananda Prabhu's Mahaprasad. So he became dancing. But as he was dancing, externally he was joking and criticizing Lord Nityananda in that love. He said, oh, Nityananda, I invited you for lunch and see what has happened. You are an Avdut, which means, nobody knows what your caste is. And I am a Brahmana. And your remnants, your juta, you have thrown at a Brahmana and touched me. Now see, when a Brahmana becomes touched by the Uchishta, by the remnants of a person whose caste is not known, that means I have lost my caste. And you are a transcendental madman. And by touching me with your remnants, you have also transformed me into a transcendental madman like yourself. You are not even thinking that I am a Brahmana and that you should not do like this. And Nityanand Prabhu responded back to this particular statement by telling Advaita Acharya, how dare you speak like this, that you may be contaminated by these grains of rice? This is the Mahaprasad of Lord Krishna. These are not ordinary remnants. So by criticizing them, you have committed an offense. You have committed such an offense that if you want to nullify it, you have to feed 100 sannyasis sumptuous food. Then only you will be able to overcome your offenses. And in response, Advaita Acharya says, oh, I don't want to again invite any other sannyasi like you. Because of a person like you, all my rules and regulations of Brahmanical cleanliness and appropriate behavior have gone for a toss. So this is a very beautiful exchange. Of course, for us at an external level, we may not be able to understand much. This may seem like a very difficult pastime to comprehend. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says at the end of this chapter, he says that he who listens to this pastime of this beautiful interaction between Advaita and Lord Chaitanya and Advaita and Nityananda Prabhu, with faith, very soon he will attain love for Krishna. So it doesn't matter whether we are able to appreciate or not, at least we can listen with faith. That way we will receive the blessings of the Lord. So in this way, both the Lords, Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, completed their lunch. Of course, Lord Chaitanya left quite a bit of Mahaprasad. I'm assuming Lord Nityananda also perhaps left, because at one point he threw some grain saying, "This is not enough for me. I don't want it anymore." So effectively what he did is he gave his Mahaprasad to Advaitacharya. So Advaitacharya first of all assisted Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda to wash their hands. And after washing their hands and mouth, he took both of them to take rest on a very nice bed. He made them sit down and lie down on the bed. He gave them tambula, mouth freshener, which was made with cloves and cardamom along with some tulsi. Both the lords put it in their mouth, and it was very fragrant tambula. Tambula is a mouth freshener. Then he applied nice sandalwood paste on the lords, both of the lords' bodies. He put a nice fresh garland on their chest. In this way, very nicely. And this is the traditional Vaishnava culture. Feed, and then you honor like this. And then where the Lord was resting on the bed, Advaitacharya came to Lord Chaitanya, and he was about to press and massage Lord Chaitanya's. And Advaitacharya and Lord Chaitanya stopped Advaitacharya and said, "This is enough. We have taken our meals and we will rest. But, I think now you should go and have your lunch. And not only you should have your lunch, you have forced me to eat like this, and I have done this. So now you please take your lunch, and please, Haridas and Mukunda are also waiting. They have also not had their lunch yet. So you three have your lunch." So Advaitacharya sat down with Mukunda and Haridas. They had their lunch to their heart's content. So this is the detailed description of the lunch eating pastime of these three lords, the two Prabhus and one Mahaprabhu. As the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Lord Chaitanya is Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu. All are the Lord. All three are the Lord. One is the original personality, one is the first expansion, and one is Mahavishnu. Amazing, isn't it? Some of these things are so hard for us ordinary conditioned souls too. But at least our hope is by hearing this and discussing this with faith, slowly, slowly we will be able to receive the blessings, to understand and enter into the mysteries of these beautiful loving pastimes. So by the time the Lord had his meals and he was resting, the news had already spread across all Shantipur. The Lord Chaitanya, having taken sannyas, has come to Shantipur. Of course, the whole episode happened so suddenly. Advaita came, and there was no real upfront itinerary. Lord is coming, he's doing this, he's going here. Suddenly Advaita comes, he brings him from the Ganges, he brings him home, and a huge feast is made. As the people of Shantipur found out, they started gathering to the house of Advaita. Everybody wanted to have darshan of the Lord. They said hundreds and hundreds of people, and they were coming and they were seeing this so beautiful. The Lord was beautiful as a grahastha, even as a sannyasi, so beautiful. Body is so effulgent and decorated with now saffron cloth. It was so lustrous. It is said his brilliance was like that of the sun, because saffron clothes plus golden body. like the sun, resplendent sun. And many people were coming and taking darshan of the Lord. So as evening approached, it is said, so many people were already gathered and devotees were there. Advaita Charya started doing kirtan. He started chanting the holy names. And he was chanting, and as he was chanting, he broke into a dance. So Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya started dancing, chanting the holy names. And through song, he was expressing his heart and he was saying, "Oh, my friends, what can I tell you? Today's day is so glorious. I have received this great benediction of receiving this transcendental pleasure of having Lord Krishna personally in my home today after a long time." So singing very beautifully, Advaita Acharya continued to do kirtan. He went into such ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and all the devotees were seeing, and Advaita was so happy because he was really in such an ecstatic mood, receiving Lord Chaitanya in his home and serving him nicely. Correct? So even for us as devotees, if our spiritual master, our worshipable spiritual master comes to our home, such a wonderful, how glorious. Oh, this is the most fortunate day. We are able to cook for him, serve him. He rests in our house. He accepts our services. It's just such a wonderful blessing. So Advaita Acharya was dancing, and tears were coming from his eyes. His body was shivering. His hairs were standing on end. And as he would dance, suddenly sometimes Advaita Acharya would fall and touch the feet of Lord Chaitanya. And as he would touch his feet, he would say, "I'm so grateful to you. For so long you escaped from here. But today you have been kind to me. You have come to my home, and now I'll not let you go. I'm going to tie you up. Because I want you to be here only, and I want to be able to serve." So this is the mood of the devotee. The devotee gets an opportunity. He feels that he wants to keep the Lord. So just like the Lord is possessive of the devotee is also possessive of the Lord. Is my Lord. And the Lord likes this kind of mamatva. So the feeling of I, me, and mine, which is currently focused on the material body and its connections, should be transferred to the Lord. When we think I am the Lord's, and even higher than that, the Lord is mine, that is the perfection of the ego. Ego means identity. False ego means I am the body and I am the enjoyer. Pure ego is I am Krishna's servant and Krishna is mine. And what is the wonderful thing? The wonderful thing is everybody can say Krishna is mine. And because Krishna is so unlimited, there is still no problem. Yeah? Because it is not that if I say Krishna is mine, others have to say, oh, Krishna has become his, so now he cannot be mine. It's not like that. So material world is that once somebody gets something, that means all others miss it out. But in the spiritual realm, you do not have that kind of a consideration. The unlimited Lord is simultaneously available fully to everyone. So for 3 hours, it is said, Advaita Acharya continued to dance and dance and dance. So when Advaita Acharya went on dancing like that, Lord Chaitanya started getting into a ecstatic mood. And Lord Chaitanya became so agitated with that ecstasy because his love was getting evoked. And all this while he was very composed and very respectful and very sober. But after some time, Lord Chaitanya couldn't control his spiritual emotions. He felt such strong feelings of separation from Krishna that he himself became so agitated by love, by the ecstasy of that love, that Lord Chaitanya suddenly fell down to the ground. When Lord Chaitanya fell down in ecstasy, Advaita Acharya was dancing, he suddenly stopped because everybody was thinking, what has happened? Suddenly, Lord Chaitanya, falls to the ground. Advaita Acharya reached out to Lord Chaitanya, he lifted him up. And as Advaita Acharya was lifting Lord Chaitanya up, Mukunda was the childhood friend and a constant associate of Lord Chaitanya and was also an expert singer, started singing beautiful stanzas from various transcendental literature to nourish the loving sentiments of Lord Chaitanya. Just like Sarup Damodar and Ramanand Rai would do in Jagannath Puri later, Kunda was doing here. Started augmenting the Lord's ecstasy. So Advaita Acharya was trying to lift the Lord so that the Lord can dance in an ecstatic mood. But when Lord Chaitanya heard these stanzas being chanted by Mukunda, he went into so much ecstasy that he could not contain the symptoms of ecstasy. Tears were coming, his whole body was trembling, his hair was standing on end, perspiring, his words were faltering. Sometimes the Lord would try to stand up and do kirtan and then he would fall. Sometimes he was crying. And the Mukunda continued to sing very beautiful verses which are related to the mood of separation from Lord Krishna. And some of these verses are mentioned. I'm not going to read those verses. So very sweetly Mukunda was singing these verses, and Lord Chaitanya was displaying these ecstatic symptoms, trying to dance, but being overwhelmed by these symptoms and being overwhelmed by various kinds of conflicting feelings of love, loving ecstasy feelings. What kind of loving ecstasies? The ecstasies of intense disappointment. There's not disappointment like we get disappointed. Our disappointment is what? Our disappointment is material. Oh, we went to a restaurant hoping to have lunch, and when we reach the restaurant, we realize it's closed. Oh, but I'm so disappointed. I came all this way to eat here, but the restaurant is closed. We are not talking about that kind of. These are all sentiments in connection with loving ecstasy of the feelings of separation. Disappointment, moroseness, sometimes pleasure, sometimes restlessness, sometimes pride, sometimes humility. So in the dealings between Krishna and the gopis, these kind of feelings of pride and humility sometimes come up. And this pride is not a material pride. So these things we are not able to appreciate at our current level. But there are pastimes where in the conversations, the mood that the gopis take seems to be one of pride. So these are all aspects of loving interaction. It is said all these sentiments were fighting with each other just like soldiers fight with one another. All of these emotions are fighting inside the heart of the Lord, like soldiers. The Lord's whole body was tottering because of the onslaughts of these conflicting emotions. And at one point, the Lord again fell down. Almost unconscious, it is said that, devotees could not even sense him breathing. So devotees became very anxious. Oh, what is this? What happened to the Lord? And as they suddenly became so worried and started thinking, what has happened? What has happened? Suddenly, the Lord got up from that ecstasy and started making thundering sounds. And he told Mukunda, go on, Mukunda, go on, tell me more. And then he suddenly broke into a dance, kirtan. So these are the, these are the kind of ecstatic madness that Lord Chaitanya would go in. And while this is just a small sample early on in his Sannyas Lila, in the Antya Lila, the Lord was pretty much in this mood all the time. So as Lord Chaitanya started dancing at this point, and Nityananda would, stand nearby just to make sure, just in case the Lord falls, he doesn't hurt himself. And Advaita and Haridas Thakur were also, around, and they were also dancing. For 3 hours, Advaita danced for 3 hours, Lord Chaitanya danced for another 3 hours. Of course, the Lord was already fasting for 3 days. Today, of course, he had eaten very sumptuously. But the devotees were very worried that, he may feel weak because actually last 3 days he was fasting. So they were concerned for him and they felt that he must be fatigued. So as the Lord started feeling some fatigue, it said Nityananda would keep him steady by holding him. So at the appropriate time, when Advaita Acharya sensed that the Lord must be tired, Advaita Acharya, after around 3 hours, he suspended the chanting. And then he encouraged the Lord. He offered various services to the Lord and encouraged the Lord that now you please take rest. So practically a 6-hour plus kirtan happened that day evening itself, and Lord Chaitanya reached Shantipur. And all the devotees were so happy, so happy. And this was such an ecstatic day. We have all been to the house of Advaita Acharya where this pastime happened, Shantipur. In the compound where this dancing happened, in the house where all these offerings were made, that place is still there. So please visit Shantipur, where Advaita Bhavan is still there. All very, very beautiful, special places. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, Lord Chaitanya continued to stay in Shantipur and give his association to Advaita Acharya and the devotees for 10 days. And continuously for 10 days, this was the itinerary. Feasting, dancing and chanting. Lunch, dinner, nice prasad. Evening was full of kirtan. That's what Prabhupada says, right? Our movement is chanting, feasting, dancing. So that is the standard set by Lord Chaitanya. So this was the festival. So this is our festival. What is our idea of a festival? Worship the Lord, have a nice feast, do nice kirtan, have a nice dance, take rest, get up next day, again chant, dance, have a feast, take a rest, again do the same. Because ultimately when we go to the spiritual world, this is what is the activity of the spiritual world. In the association of Krishna, always be absorbed in hearing, chanting, dancing, serving, feasting. The next day morning, if you remember, Chandrasekhar Acharya, the one who had brought, as per Nityananda Prabhu's advice, had come up front Shantipur to tell Advaita Acharya that Lord Chaitanya is in the Ganges. Nityananda Prabhu has asked you to come there. He had already gone to Navadvip in the meanwhile. So as all this pastime was happening on that day, Chandrasekhar had reached Navadvip and he had informed all the devotees. And the next day morning, seated in a palki, Sachi Mata, accompanied by so many devotees of Navadvip, they came to Shantipur. So whatever we discussed, all these pastimes happened on day 1. The day 2 morning, Sachi Mata reached the house of Vetacharya. Because Sachi Mata was in so much anxiety. Where is Nimai? Where is Nimai? And Chandrasekhar comes and gives this information that he has taken sannyas. Now he is in Shantipur. And Nityananda Prabhu has given this message. Please come there so that you can take darshan. So Sachi Mata comes there. And Sachi Mata sees Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya sees Sachi Mata. They are both so overwhelmed. Lord Chaitanya and Sachimata's love of Vatsalya was so intense, like that between Krishna and Yashoda. Because she's an incarnation of Yashoda. Her heart was so much full of love. She was crying tears as she saw Lord Chaitanya. She embraced Lord Chaitanya. She got Lord Chaitanya to sit on her lap and she was pouring with tears. She was, you know, giving him blessings and touching him and kissing him as if he's a small boy. And she was showering him with so much affection. Of course, the Lord knew she was a widowed mother and she was going through a difficult situation. So the Lord, even though he's a sannyasi, he accepted that affectionate feeling of his mother. Mother Sachi was crying and saying, "Oh, my dear Nimai, you have accepted also the renounced order. Vishwaroop, your elder brother, also took sannyas, but he never gave me the, I never got to see him after he took sannyas. You don't even know where he is. He went away. You, please don't do like that, like Vishwarupa. If you also do like that, then I will surely die. I cannot maintain my life." And Lord Chaitanya was so overwhelmed by the loving attitude of Sachimata. He says to Sachimata that, "Oh, my dear mother, please forgive me. I don't know what madness overcame me that I have taken sannyas. But actually, my body belongs to you. You have given birth to this body. I am so indebted to you. This body was given birth by you and you have maintained and raised this body. I can never repay the debt, even in millions of births that I owe to you. Somehow I accepted sannyas, but I promise that I will never be indifferent to you, even though I have taken sannyas. So do not think that just because I have taken sannyas, I have renounced you or I have rejected you. So, my dear mother, I tell you today that wherever you ask me to stay, I shall stay. And whatever you ask me to do, I will do." So this was a wonderful way in which Lord Chaitanya pacified Sachimata and made her happy. Essentially, he said, "I give the decision to you." And he knew that the mother would not take a wrong decision because Lord Chaitanya knew that for Sachimata it was very important that Nimai's reputation as a sannyasi should not be affected. So she was conscious of that. He knew that she wouldn't tell him that, "Oh, you give up your sannyas, come home and, come back to your wife again." So Sachimata tells Lord Chaitanya, of course, Mahaprabhu is again and again offering obeisances to his Lord. And Sachimata actually requests the Lord that uh, I prefer that you stay in Jagannath Puri rather than staying here. And why she says Jagannath Puri? She says Jagannath Puri because she says Jagannath Puri is so close by. And there are always devotees from Bengal which are going to Jagannath Puri and devotees from Puri coming to Bengal. In that way, if you're in Puri, the news about you and your activities and your health and your well-being will always be coming to me and I'll be happy. Because Puri and Navadvip are like two rooms in the same house. Sachimata argues like that. They're like two rooms in the same. You go to Vrindavan so far, I'll have no connection. And Puri is not different from Vrindavan. So this is how actually the Lord changed his mind from going to Vrindavan and instead decided to make Puri his residence. Advaitacharya took Mother Sachi after this whole very intense emotional interaction between Lord Chaitanya and Mother Sachi. He took Sachi Mata within the house and pacified her. Meanwhile, Lord Chaitanya met all the other devotees who had come along with Sachimata from Navadvip. So many devotees who were so much anxiety to meet Lord Chaitanya. One after another, the Lord came. The devotees came and they met the Lord. And according to the Lord's relationship with him, some of them he embraced very tightly. And they were all so blissfully gazing at Lord Chaitanya. Of course, all the devotees, they were happy to see Lord Chaitanya, but in one way, they were also not happy. Why were they not happy? Because first time they are seeing Lord Chaitanya without hair. They are seeing him bald. So devotees don't like to see the Lord in a renounced mood. So in that way, they were feeling pain. But nonetheless, they were happy that they were seeing the Lord's beautiful form. Because the Lord's beauty is not taken away just by his hair going. He's still so beautiful. So many devotees were there. It is said devotees like Shrivas, Ramai, Vidyanidhi, Gadadhar Pandit, Gangadas, Vakreshwar, Murari, Shuklambar, Buddhimanta Khan, Nandana, Sridhara, Vijay, Vasudev, Damodar, Mukunda, Sanjay, and so many others. They all had come and they had very beautiful interactions. And the Lord engaged in a very beautiful Sankirtan with all these devotees who had come with from Navadvip. And it is said in this kind of a beautiful Kirtan, the whole home, this whole Shantipur residence was transformed into Vaikuntha. Not only from Shantipur, it is said so many people from even the nearby villages started coming to see Lord Chaitanya. Even from Navadvip, so many others were coming to the home. And all those who were coming and visiting would also bring various offerings of vegetables and fruits as a service to Lord Chaitanya. Advaitacharya knew that Sachi Mata was very, very fond of cooking for Lord Chaitanya. So he handed over the kitchen of the house because Lord Chaitanya was staying there for 10 days, right? He handed over the kitchen to her. I said, you cook for Lord Chaitanya. So Sita Thakurani, who was very expert cook, she also took the back seats of Sachi Mata because they all wanted to please Mother Sachi, who was so overwhelmed with separation. We'll just take few minutes more. We'll complete this chapter. We're almost towards the end. So then Sachi Mata, just like Sita Thakurani, she was such a wonderful cook and she would make tons and tons and tons of offerings to his heart's content, and she was feeding the Lord day and night, day after day after day. There was chanting and feasting, chanting and feasting. And every evening when the Lord was chanting and doing kirtan and dancing, many times the Lord would fall to the ground in ecstasy and Sachimata would be so pained. It is says Sachimata, when she would see Lord Chaitanya falling to the ground, she would be praying to the Lord, oh Lord Narayan, may my son Nimai, may his body not feel any pain. So like that very beautifully. Mother Sachi was serving the Lord. It is said, just like Mother Sachi wanted to cook for the Lord, Srivas Thakur's wife, Malini Devi, and so many other ladies also wanted to cook for Lord Chaitanya because they also got an opportunity. So they also said, can we also, one meal we want to cook. But Sachi Mata was very insistent, no, I will never get a chance to cook for Lord Chaitanya again. So please don't take this chance away from me. I want to keep, as long as he's here, I want to cook. Why I'll not get a chance? Because he has taken sannyas as a sannyasi, he will never come back home to my home. Navadvip. So how will I be able to cook for him? Now somehow by Advaita Acharya's grace, I've got an opportunity to cook. So all 10 days, I am taking full service. No roster. No schedule. Full service is mine. So all the devotees understood that, and for them, taking care of Sachi Mata was their prime objective. So They all made her happy, and she was very, very happy for 10 days. She served Lord Chaitanya by cooking very nicely. So after 10 days, Lord Chaitanya said, now I must go. This whole discussion happened around his going to Puri, and he settled and he said, yes, I agree with whatever my mother has said. I will go to Puri. And Advaita Acharya also said, yes, I think, oh Lord, that's a good idea. It was agreed that he'll go to Puri. But Advaita Acharya said, please, please, my Lord, don't go yet. Please stay for 2 more days. And the Lord agreed, and he stayed for a couple of more days. Finally, the time came for the Lord to take leave from Shantipur. So he took the permission of all the devotees. He offered respects to them according to his relationship. He told Haridas Thakur that Haridas Thakur was very, very dear to him. Haridas Thakur was actually so distraught that he's again going to miss Lord Chaitanya, and he was praying to Lord Chaitanya, and he was telling Lord Chaitanya that, I know, how am I going to live without you? So Lord Chaitanya told him that, don't worry, I will pray to Jagannath that he makes some arrangement for you and gives you shelter in his abode. And as we know later, what happened is actually Haridas Thakur also came to Jagannath Puri and started residing there at Siddha Bakul. So finally, when the time came for the Lord to depart, and I'm skipping some smaller details, there's so many things I cannot cover. So Lord Advaita Acharya, when the time came to depart, Advaita Acharya said to Lord Chaitanya that, I suggest that Nityananda Prabhu, Jagadananda Pandit, Damodar Pandit, and Mukunda Datta, these 4 devotees go along with you, Jagannath Puri. They all first pacified Sachi Mata because she had so much difficulty letting the Lord go. Finally, the Lord actually left. The Lord was not overwhelmed. The Lord was very detached. All the devotees were overwhelmed. But it is said the Lord, in a very composed way, like a true sannyasi should behave, not being overwhelmed by any bodily relationship, so to say. Very peacefully, he walked away with the 4 associates. Advaita Acharya also went along with him to kind of send him off. Advaita Acharya went with him to some distance. And after he went ahead up to some distance, Lord Chaitanya told him, now you should go back. So you have come to say bye-bye to me. Thank you. And I will see you. Please come to Jagannath Puri. And he told that to all the other devotees, I'm going to Puri. So please come to Jagannath Puri. I will have your association. We'll have each other's association in Jagannath Puri. So please come to Puri. And he sent Advaita Acharya also back, saying that I will see you later at Puri. And then these 4 devotees, Jagadananda, Damodar, Mukunda, and Nityananda Prabhu, along with Lord Chaitanya, proceeded towards Puri. It is said they took the way from the town of Chhatrabhoga, and they passed Chhatrabhoga, and they went towards Niladri, Jagannath Puri. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ends this chapter by saying that if one hears of the activities of the Lord at the house of Advaita Acharya, he will certainly very soon attain the riches of love of Krishna. Rivo. So, the 12 of you who have heard, the 12 Gopas who have heard, so you have been blessed with that special blessing Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives. So that brings us to the end of this chapter. So essentially this chapter is about how Lord Chaitanya, after sannyas, wanted to go to Vrindavan, but was guided towards Shantipur, how he spent time at Shantipur, interacted not just with Advaita Acharya and family and accepted their service, but also Sachi Mata and all the devotees from Bengal coming there, and how he spent time with them, chanting, dancing, and feasting, and how eventually the agreement was made for him to go to Jagannath Puri. Then he went to Jagannath Puri with four of his associates. So his journey to Jagannath Puri is described in great detail. Chaitanya Mangal by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Some episodes are mentioned here also in the subsequent chapters which we will discuss. Chaitanya Mangal gives very great details. So that brings us to the end of the third chapter of the Madhya Lila. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta. So actually the next chapter is about Madhavendra Puri. So we will discuss that. Of course, how Madhavendra Puri's discussion comes, all that we will go into. But that's a very, very interesting and special pastime. So opening up the floor, sorry, it took around 10-12 minutes extra, but I thought I didn't want to spill over to the next class for another 10-15 minutes. So I tried to complete. Any questions, any comments from anyone? Sachi Parima Mataji, yes, thank you Mataji for the encouraging comment. Any questions from anyone? Wonderful. Okay, so I hope I have prepped up your appetite again. So you can have, those who are in India can have prasad. It'll already be 7:30, 7:45 now. So I will see you on Saturday, and we'll continue our discussion on the Bhagavad. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bo.
Very interesting for your
Krishna, and thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Charan Lakshmi Mataji.
Thank you,
Charan
Prabhu.
Lalita
Prabhu.
Mataji.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
interesting,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anand Sundari Mataji. Thank you, Bhaskar. Thank you. Suraj, Shalini ji, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
always,
Hare Krishna,
Devi
Prabhu.
Mataji, thank you. Archana ji and family, thank you very much. Always all very steadfast in their hearing about these wonderful devotees. Thank you so much for giving me the support. Okay, I will see you all on Saturday.